like it has, you can tell it was made in the U.S. because this globe has the states on it. But then you go to like Canada, they might have like their
Canada has
district.
the provinces.
They have their provinces, but like Mexico has provinces too, or whatever you call them. Like most of these places are divided up into.
I don't know if I'm educated enough
areas,
to know exactly.
But they're
none
of them are like divided
states
up.
or provinces.
Like Australia. Oh no, Australia's done too. Man, it's all the English ones. Bro, cartographers, kind of racist. I'm not gonna lie.
Neat.
Anyways,
Well, I don't know. Do you know for sure? Like, what other countries have anything similar to provinces or states that you know certainly before making like a statement like that?
Mexico. I'm very certain Mexico is divided up into. I don't know what they call them, but some sort of district, province, state. I think they're states.
Interesting.
The more you know. And that's the type of stuff you learn on the Speaking Sporadically podcast. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 95. We're pumping them out, going ham because we're getting to 100, bro, on our birthday.
And because we messed up some other episodes, so we got to grind out some more to get there in time.
Oh, yes. We actually solved a major problem. We became scientists right when we got here.
We actually kind of did. It's cool.
As you can tell, the problem has been weeded out.
Oh, no.
And, no, I'm just kidding. He'll be on the 100th. He's just busy, so don't worry about it. Will be an issue, though, with the chords because one of the chords was faulty, which was the actual problem. So we're going to have to figure that out. But it'll be all right.
Yeah. Before we did this, we did a bunch of scientific method tests where we'd only change one variable.
Yep.
And we're like, this chord in this port with this
Scientific
mic.
method
Switch only the port, same chord, same mic. And we kept figuring it out until we came down to the root of the problem, which is a certain chord.
We
For
had
some
an
reason-
IV, we had a DV, we had a control group. It was...
Our hypothesis
Shout out
was
to
correct.
the golden area of the Middle East for giving us a scientific method, and Francis Bacon for modernizing it. It's pretty radical. Now you know more.
Where did the scientific method come from?
I want to say the golden age of Islam is when they made it.
I feel like,
when they wrote it down.
I feel like
and
everything
then-
we say about like any of this stuff, we're like pretty sure we're right, but we could be
Yeah.
completely
No, I'm
wrong
po-
at just
I'm
about
positive on
everything.
this.
No,
I'm
isn't
positive on
Francis
this.
Bacon just the Bacon Revolution?
No, that was not.
Wasn't that a
Francis
big thing
Bacon
for
was a
government?
scientist, not a farmer.
He made
Who
bacon.
did the Bacon Revolution then?
Someone Bacon,
Oh.
like I don't know, John
maybe
Bacon.
you can see
or
how I
something.
could get that confused.
Yeah,
though.
no, I got you. Francis Bacon was a scientist.
Like,
Or
people ask me all the
historian or
time
whatever.
if it was my granddad that signed the Constitution.
No, he
I'm
made
not
the-
just like, no, it was Roger Sherman.
No, he made the tanks,
No, yeah.
and also blazed a path of destruction in the Civil War.
Yeah, dude. My lineage is kind of clutch.
Yeah, Shermans go wild, dude.
I'm looking up scientific
And now
method.
we're all just chilling on a podcast.
It's a long name, so I didn't want to try it. But it is. It was from the golden age of Islam, or
I think it was
the,
before that.
or the
I
equivalent.
feel like it was
well, sure,
more
but
like
I'm saying like
in
they
Rome
they
or
like
Greek. I should say Greek
they
philosophers,
verbalized it,
and
they
it was.
verbalized, and they wrote it down and all that. Like, you know what I mean? Because that was in the dark ages of England or of Europe, but Islam, like the whole Middle East, was having a prime time during those like few hundred years.
Yeah, the Middle East, they made a ton of advancements on navigation, actually, in that time as well.
Yeah. Well, they like rediscovered stuff from like Polynesia. You know Polynesia, like like that coastline.
Purple, baby.
Yeah, it came from snails, and they were so rare. That's why purple is associated with royalty. Dude, look at all the stuff you're learning today. It's pretty radical.
Yeah,
I'm
Trey,
learning.
you're contributing
I'm
so much.
learning.
dude.
I'm just listening. I'm
Dude, just
intrigued.
use your phone.
Trey, if you were wearing purple, we were all matching.
Are you colorblind?
Oh,
Look at the mics, guys.
Oh.
That's close enough. Isn't that cool?
no.
Okay.
So yeah,
It actually
My
kinda
fault.
is.
Yeah.
'Cause you got-
My bad. I thought
'cause
it
you
was
got
pretty
like your
unique.
green exposed, like you did it on
I'm
purpose.
not even
to match
using the
with
same
your
mic. Like that's my normal one.
thing. Wait, what
Trey and I
color
just
do wait,
switched.
what color do I have?
you have like
Like a
dark
bluish.
blue.
It's all right. What were you saying, Dave?
So yeah, the scientific method is kind of like all over because it was like, although ancient Greek philosophers developed earliest forms of rational theoretical science,
Well, that's like
Phoenician
deduction
scholars used natural explanations.
Deduction.
Francis Bacon popularized the inductive reasoning. So he didn't like invent it, but he like popularized it. Yeah, so it's kind of like all over.
Bro, there's a Islamic guy in there somewhere.
Copernicus to Newton. Yeah. So
They cut my boy out. Those guys are racist.
who?
Those
Who
guys
was?
who wrote it, they're racist.
Yeah, but who did you say?
I don't want to say his name. I don't know his name. I
He
don't.
said
Wanna,
some Islamic guy.
yeah, it was from.
So yeah,
yeah. If I had my old chemistry notes, I could tell you. I remember he was in our own chemistry notes in school.
why would you learn the scientific method in chemistry?
You kind of need it in chemistry.
See, now here it says, as we know it, the scientific method dates only from the 1930s. So that was probably when it was like really
Like
set
you said
in
it,
stone,
and like all the
defined.
words is yeah, exactly.
Came to know what it is today.
I gotta figure this out. My
Yeah,
phone's all-
the scientific method was first welcomed by astronomers such as Galileo and Kepler. After the 17th century,
Yeah.
it became widespread. So it's kind of like all over, honestly.
I feel like the beginnings, it's more like, I wouldn't say sentence, like kind of the idea of it, not like the
Right.
certain
And-
like
well, a
actual
lot of the Greek
principle
stuff you're
of
talking
it.
about, that's like deductive reasoning.
Right,
Like,
that's
it's
just
like, oh, this happens
philosophy.
because of this. You just, they looked at something and then they just kind of rationalize it.
They use philosophy and like math and
This
science
guy.
and logic to explain things.
Oh, I don't want to
which is-
mispronounce it, dude. No, I'm gonna. Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna try it. Okay, so
Good luck.
all right. Okay, Ibn al-Hatham, the Muslim scientist who birthed the scientific method. Yeah, Isaac Newton, a guy like Aristotle, those are all mentioned. Then Roger Bacon. Interesting.
It says France. Is it?
Many great studies would probably respond. I don't. That's a weird one.
Yeah.
250 years before, again, Roger Bacon. I got to click on that. But yeah. So not exactly the golden age, but 11th century.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of hard to
I
pinpoint
click Roger Bacon.
where exactly did this method come from, because like, what is? Obviously, we have the definition of the scientific terms of the scientific method, but obviously, like that wasn't set in stone, like real defined till recent years. But like you can, I think like the further you go back, the more early you can find like the tracings of it or the basics of it.
Yeah,
Like,
where
you
it's
probably
not-
go all the way back to like we were saying, like the Greek and Roman philosophers.
where they were kind of using it,
yeah,
but it's
well-
not like
What was that era called when they instead? There's a name for it, because before that they used to just use gods and religion
I'm
to
sorry,
explain everything.
What's going on?
So we're talking about this probably really like the idea started from like the Greek and Roman philosophers who switched from using religion and gods to explain everything to like reason and logic.
Are you saying that was like an event?
Well, like there's what's that?
Age.
There's a time period called. It's like I think there's an age for it.
When it
It's like
switched?
a name, right? I forget that. I know there's a name. It's when they started, like Aristotle and Socrates and all those famous guys.
Oh, no, because they lived hundreds of years apart, man. And Plato, like all those people were hundreds of years
Yeah,
apart.
but it all started in, it was all like Roman and Greek philosophy.
Oh, a lot of them. So, like, I really want to get it right. Which one had a? It might have been Plato that had his own religion, and the gods were included in it. Like, so not like they were like like not
Yeah.
they weren't like secular or anything. I know, like way after that. So like in like the Renaissance and stuff like that, things started to switch up a little bit, and then they had like there's like the Great Awakening in like the late 1700s, early 1800s, and that was like a lot of science and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was way before that.
So
Time I'm
okay, so you're
thinking of.
talking like way. All right.
what was really cool with them though is how they all taught each other, like all the great philosophers. Like he was
It
his
is
mentor,
cool, yeah.
to him, to
Yeah,
him.
he
Yeah.
was an
The
insane-
thing
Whatever the order is, like Plato, Socrates,
the thing that
whatever.
sucks about it, that's kind of funny for us. It sucks for us, but it's kind of funny in my head. Is like because of that, a lot of them who were like teachers and like wrote things down and like in their books to give to other students. They're like in their like notes in these like really old historical books that we've covered and we're really excited about. They're like, yeah, all my students know about this one really niche guy that like no one, like we don't know anything about him now, but we want to. He's like, all my students know everything about him, so I'm not going to write it down here. They know it. And so we have no clue what he was going to write, like what this guy was and why he was important.
It's really
but-
funny though.
Yeah, no, it's super cool. I just watched a video a while ago about. I'm gonna say it was Plato, and how he had his own like cult, and like a legit cult, and like it centered around gods, and like you can't sacrifice like a black chicken because like they're. Oh, why do you can't sacrifice a black chicken? I can't. No, it was a black hen. You can sacrifice a black chicken, white chicken, and a brown chicken, but you can't sacrifice a black hen for some reason. And
like
there's
a
blah blah blah,
Batman or
like super
something.
weird stuff. Like, so that you can't wear shoes in a temple, which I could see that, but like Oh, there was some weird stuff on there too.
Didn't like most of them, like Plato, Socrates, and all them, either get like killed or like thrown out of the empire or whatever they lived at?
No, they're actually pretty revered.
Were they?
They were pretty revered.
Yeah, that's what I
There was
understand.
one philosopher who, I don't know his name. He wasn't one of the big ones, but it was legends has it that he died because an eagle was trying to kill a turtle and crack it open to eat it. He thought the dude's head, because he was bald, he thought it was a rock, so the eagle dropped the turtle on his head and he died. That's the only death I know about from them. And also Diogenes, who was a Greek philosopher at that time, and he lived outside in a barrel, and like at first he used a bowl, like that was the only thing he owned, and then he saw like a dog like eating scraps on the floor. He's like, I don't need this. So he like lived. He had nothing to his name, and he was a savage. And then I think one day he just held his breath until he died, and then he's like, yeah, just put me in the woods.
That's the way to do it.
I can't find the term that I'm thinking of like
Like a shift.
yeah, like this time period. I can
yeah, like
beginning of the fourth
I know what
century.
you're talking about. Like there's a word like the Enlightenment or
Yeah.
the Renaissance.
Yeah,
So
say Renaissance or
what's the
something like
shift you're
Describes
talking about?
that
From
time
going
frame.
to basically gods and religion to reason and logic. It started 4th
Oh.
century BC with like Aristotle and Parmenides. And then after that, that's where you get Socrates and Plato and Galileo.
This is what I'm
I
seeing.
mean, so
is-
they all believed in God. Like Galileo was way
Yeah.
after those folks, though.
Yes, yeah.
So I think
They
I
all
think
but they
there's
all
no
still believed
one
in God,
shift.
but they started using reason because like they had philosophy and religion were like two separate things in ancient Rome. I just learned it not that long ago, and people could subscribe or like follow multiple things. You
Yeah.
could still believe in religion,
Yeah.
but you would also follow some type of philosophy, which I forget what I studied. It was like Epicurus. Epicus. It was something
I realized something. The cult that I was talking about was not Plato. It was Pythagoras, the dude who came up with the equation for the triangle, which makes it slightly weirder. All right, continue.
what I'm seeing is the Hellenistic period.
That's
triangles.
how did I not get that? Oh my, that's literally what I'm. Yes, that's the. It's
Yeah.
the Hellenistic period was that time where they flipped to that and they started using like there was like I was saying I think it was like the Epicurus philosophy, and basically I remember learning about what they believe is that we are just made of atoms. We don't have have a soul. Our soul is completely material, and when we die, all we do is we cease to exist. So it basically eliminated the fear of death if you followed this, because if you die, there's like no pain. Your soul doesn't go anywhere. You'll never get like tortured, or you won't get what's the word I'm thinking? If you cursed, like nothing happens. You just die, and the whole point of life was to enjoy it. It was pretty cool because it was really like,
Yeah.
but be happy, be joyful, and be kind, basically to everything. That should be your goal in life, and just like basically have fun. Like life, the meaning of life is
Just
to
live
just
life.
enjoy it and to pursue pleasure. And it was just live like, and it was like, and they literally said like drink and party, plentiful amount, but not too much, obviously, because then it has bad. But that was basically their philosophy. We're like, yeah, we are just things. Life is just to enjoy. Be happy,
Interesting.
be merryful, and be friendly.
Yeah, that's cool.
It was that. It's kind of cool.
So the Hellenistic period refers to that, or that's just when it was in?
I think
Both.
I don't know if it refers
Yeah, I
to that,
feel
but
like
that
it's
was
the
the
same
time.
question.
The Hellenistic period was when all these Greek philosophers
They name it the
and
Hellenistic
rise of
period.
Rome.
I mean, I know that's like Helen of Troy, but
Yeah.
that was like you don't even know if she was like existed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that at the time, that was still like when they made it, that was a myth of like long ago. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, but side note, Socrates was the one I was talking about. He was accused of corrupting the youth of Athens and was sentenced to death. So they made him
Really?
drink poisonous
Oh
hemlock.
yeah. He did it
Yeah, I knew-
voluntarily
I-
too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he choosing not to flee. He just stayed.
Yeah, he's like, no,
That's
it's my time.
I
bro."
remember one of them got like executed or something for
Yeah.
doing something.
It's like,
Sounds
they want me
about
to
right
drink-
to me.
They want me to drink it. I'll drink it.
Because Socrates was a student of Aristotle, I believe.
No,
right?
Aristotle was his student. He was a student. Wait,
Plato should have been one of the first ones, I believe, or maybe Plato was after.
yeah,
Heck, man, I don't know.
Soccer. I just had the timeline. Hold on.
I feel like Socrates is one of the older ones. No, and Aristotle.
Yeah,
was,
so
Plato might have been
Plato
the-
was Socrates taught Plato, then Plato taught Aristotle.
Okay.
There we
That's
go.
how it goes.
Yes.
Is the timeline. Socrates, Plato, Aristotle.
And then the whole Hellenistic period was between the death of Alexander the Great and the rise of King Augustus of Rome.
Oh,
Or
okay.
Emperor.
Yeah,
I
Augustus
got you.
of Rome.
Okay. that does make sense. Yeah.
And then sometime in between that is when the Great Library of Alexandria
Burned
got
down.
destroyed.
And two wolves rose, or one wolf raised two sons.
I have a couple cool things to say, actually, because you just reminded me. But one of my favorite quotes is from Aristotle. I don't think I've said it on the pod before. It's in my Instagram bios, because I'm like that, I think, unless I deleted it.
I don't have anything.
But,
on
all
my
right,
ID.
listen to this.
I don't have you on Instagram. What's your at, bro?
I blocked you.
Well, the Speaking Sporadically at is Speaking Sporadically.
We
Same
should
with
put
TikTok.
cool quotes in our
So,
in our Speaking Sporadically bio.
Yeah,
I don't know if we have enough room.
Our bio is elite. I spent
Yeah, our
a
bio's
long
good.
time on it.
Okay.
Okay, it looks really good, and it was hard to orient like that because you can't like just hit enter and it like go down. You have to like space it out right so it doesn't continue.
Yeah, I guess before you start too, what I said earlier, Aristotle was forced to flee Macedonian settlement once Alexander the Great died, so he was forced to flee. So I was right on both. I knew one of them had to
Boy.
flee and one had to die, or one got
Well, that makes
executed.
sense because after Alexander the Great died, a lot of things changed.
Yeah, it just went
Yeah.
downhill. Yeah,
Probably a lot
everything.
of them.
Yeah,
beforehand
He had to
weren't
flee.
exactly prosecuted.
because I'm pretty sure he was like
Did they-
he was like the teacher of Alexander the Great, wasn't
Yeah, he taught
Yeah,
him.
he taught him.
He was his tutor.
he? Yeah.
Or was it his son? Alexander's son.
No, he was his
Alexander
tutor.
the Great was, I think, born into royalty. So I think his parents were
Okay.
also
They just
rulers of Rome.
His parents were still rulers.
So yeah, they just had him as like its teacher or whatever, because they wanted one of the smartest minds at the time.
Macedon.
Whatever. But yeah.
It was Macedon.
So
Yeah, but go
Oh
ahead.
yeah,
Donia.
Macedonian. Macedonia.
And then it became
Yeah.
Greece because he was a baller. He was like that.
That's how it was. All right, I think we got it figured out. You understand?
You
What's
see-
the quote?
you see, sometimes we're right and sometimes we just kind of make stuff up. But
What's the quote?
don't. All right. So the quote the quote is. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Every man has two lives, and the second one starts when he realizes he has only one.
Who said that? Was that
Aristotle.
bro.
Dude knew what was up.
That's a great quote. I got
That is
it.
a
Like,
great
every
quote.
man has two lives.
I think I did see that when I was
The second
stalking
one
your
starts
page
when he
one
has
time.
only one. I love that quote. I think
It
it's
is really good.
that is a very
But then-
deep
I
thing.
think it's kind of mid.
The second thing.
What if
that-
you go through like multiple changes in your life? Then you got like 3 or 4.
well,
That's
it's
just a
when you
phase.
realize
That's just
that
a
you
phase.
Yeah.
That's not a whole life.
It's just when you realize you only have one life and you start living like it. That's when your
That's-
second one
yeah.
starts.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what if I can walk my entire life?
All right, you guys are
See
taking
my
the shock
entire
value out of this. Stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, what if I never developed
good
a full
quote.
like frontal lobe
Good lord.
until I'm dead?
The other thing you guys remind me of, and actually because I just played it recently, but I've talked about Assassin's Creed Odyssey, right? And it was
Yeah.
set back in like ancient Greece or Rome, whatever.
All right.
And somewhat
Pause.
and somewhat recently they added like an additional ending to the game. So like originally there was the first ending, you played the whole game, right? Then they released Valhalla, which is their second game about like Vikings.
Yeah.
So in order to like almost promote that, they added on an additional ending to that game. So like it kind of ties into Valhalla, and they could put their advertisement at the end, like play Valhalla to continue the story and whatnot. And in the end, well, along the whole entire game, one of your friends is Herodotus. You guys know him. He's a famous Roman writer.
Yeah, he was a scribe.
Yeah, scribe. I don't know if he was a philosopher, but he basically wrote down a whole bunch of stuff. And he wasn't super famous in the game, but at the end of the game, Alexios is the main character, right? So basically you're playing the guy. Your main character travels all across the world, and he takes some of Herodotus' writings and he sneaks it in to the Library of Alexandria. And that's basically like the story behind of how Herodotus became famous. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Like your character was the one
Oh,
that took
he
his
helped him
writings.
out?
Yeah.
Oh, that's wicked.
Because Herodotus didn't know. He's just like, this is just for you, man. You can hear my writings and my thoughts just for you. Like, so this. Like,
that's awesome.
knew that he was a great guy. So he was like, I'm going to sneak this
Yeah.
in to the Library of Alexandria. And he did. And you see him like sneak it. And he sets it in and he's like, everyone will hear about your writings. And that's
What?
apparently the game story about how Herodotus became
Did he knock
famous.
over a candle on his way out?
Yeah, I was about to say.
Dude, does anyone know the percentage of like history lost because of the burning? It's like a majority of written history that we have no idea about because that library burned. But we still know who Herodotus is, so
Yeah. So
Yeah.
his stuff must have.
I think we consider him a historian,
Not burned.
right? Because he just
so.
he
Yeah,
just
he
wrote
just-
stuff down.
Like
Yeah.
that stuff you put in the library.
That's so funny, dude. Like, imagine if I picture myself like living like like 2.5 thousand years ago, around about that time.
Yeah, yep, good enough.
Just writing stuff down. Like I could be spewing the most BS crap ever.
You can make up anything.
And as long as like, yep, we got this piece of paper, so there's like a 50% chance that an alligator actually was the thing that killed, I don't know, Histocles or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like that'd be pretty cool.
Could just make up the wackiest stuff possible.
Yeah. Eating
I mean,
some weird rye bread.
Yeah, I don't know
stuff
about
like
if
that.
they made it up, but that's how like a lot of myths started, like the Minotaur myth.
Yeah.
It was because it was in some of their writings, and
Yeah.
I don't know if they just did it as like a joke or if they actually
I'm
believed
gonna-
it, or maybe if it actually was real.
I wanna-
But we can't like prove it, so then we just think like, okay, it's
Or even stuff, even like cave drawings and stuff, what they
Yeah.
wrote on the
I
walls.
want
Right.
to do some research on the Minotaur because I've seen one documentary, but it was a long time ago.
Percy Jackson.
No. I want to do it again. Sorry, I didn't mean to say it like that, but that's not what I was talking
I
about.
don't know what we have against Percy Jackson. That's a goated book
I do
series.
like Percy
but-
Jackson. But so there's an island called Crete. You know Crete?
Yeah, yeah.
So that island was like we're just now trying to like beginning to figure out that the buildings there were way older than we thought. And so that's where a lot of myths actually came from. And they had these beautiful and like complex mosaics and these like paintings, like huge wall paintings. And a lot of them had dolphins, but some of them had like minotaurs on them. And then we found out this is like, oh, some of these buildings are really complex, and then they go down into the ground, and they're still complex. Like, oh, maybe a labyrinth.
yep.
You know, and so the myths didn't originate from the island of Crete, but I think the myth isn't the labyrinth in Crete in the myth. Does anyone know for sure?
I don't know for sure.
What do you like the deal?
Like
whatever.
in the story of who was the hero from that story? Percy?
Yeah, Perseus.
I think it was Perseus that
It
did
was
it.
Perseus.
I don't want to.
No,
No,
it's actually his name.
anything. But, anyways, it's really cool because like we're just now like
It's
putting,
like- it's
putting
like-
two and two together between history and like these myths and stuff like that.
It's like the Marvel episode. We're gonna have someone text us
Yeah.
and be like, "Actually, I have a PhD in Greek philosophy."
Yeah, that's fine, dude.
I'm trying.
Send them
Hopefully.
over.
I was
Send
thinking
them
about
over.
the-
Tell
like
us
the-
exactly what we said wrong.
Yeah.
Like the labyrinth. Who built it? It was the guy with the. His name started with the D, didn't it? The guy that built the labyrinth or whatever.
Yeah.
Why am I
some
blanking on his
king. I
name?
think he was the king of Crete. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, you're right,
'Cause
you're right. He was the king of
They
Crete.
had to sail to an island, and then they sailed back to.
Are you
The
fact-checking?
kingdom
You
that
fact-checking?
Percy came from was.
Perseus.
Or I don't know the kingdom.
Perseus.
Perseus. I don't know. I think so. Percy.
You keep
But
saying Percy is a Percy Jackson. I bet.
I'm abbreviating it, man. We're chill like that.
Oh,
you don't
okay.
know him like I do. But
name
no.
base.
So Perseus's father, his name was Aegeus or something like that. You know the Aegean Sea.
Yes.
In the myth, it's called the Aegean Sea because in the myth, to tell his father that he survived and he triumphed basically in the challenge or the trials, he was supposed to raise a certain color flag or a certain design
Oh,
flag.
then his father.
And they were
yeah.
so he was looking over to the cliffs, basically over the Aegean Sea, and then they were so excited, like partying and stuff, they forgot to raise that flag, and his father was like, "Oh, my son's dead," so he jumped into
Jumped
the
out of
sea.
the sea.
It says Minos was the legendary ruler of Crete. He was also the son of Zeus, king of the gods.
Minos. Okay, so it's Minos was a king, but it was Crete. Let's go. But yeah, the island of Crete, like we're finding all these different things.
Look at this.
Pretty hype.
Yeah,
Guys.
that was all in the game.
What's wrong with you?
That was all in the game. Like the island of Crete was
Yeah.
with a big cluster of islands that
Yeah.
you would travel to, and you would go into the labyrinth, and you had to go through the entire labyrinth to get to the Minotaur to fight him.
Yeah,
And
the
everything.
archipelagos.
Yeah.
Kind of landscape
Yeah.
or seascape.
So it's pretty
One other thing I'm doing a lot of research on is the, like, just like the word transitions and associations of. Do you guys recognize if I say So you guys recognize if I say Yahweh, right? Like Yahweh. Yahweh. Does that ring any bells? So that's the original like Judaic word for God, like his name Yahweh. And then there's even earlier versions of the name that was like slightly different, like entities, but like it transferred like from name to name. But they're all like monotheistic, right? And so I've been doing a lot of just like research on that. It's just been really interesting, like where it came from. Like people like legit just fighting over the names. Like I want ours to be named this. So actually, instead of fighting, because you're more powerful, can we just like combine them? And that's just what they did a bunch. I really wish I remembered the other one. It's like
Allah?
No, it's not Allah. It's not Allah. It's like a AL. Well, one of them was L, just EL, which just meant God. And it was a lot of tribes, and they just kind of came together around like the Israel, like Judah area and stuff like that, and like Jordan area. And like eventually, like over so long, they just kind of merged all into one. Because it was the same religion. They just had different names, and like different names for different reasons, aside from like cultural and language and stuff like that. It's very interesting. I like it, although it's super confusing, because that kind of history is like, it's almost lost to us, basically, all that area. But what?
Nothing. We just do need to do like a Greek or like a Roman mythology episode. We're mostly Greek. That would be.
Yeah, I'd love to
very
brush
interesting.
up on all that because I used to know quite a bit.
Yeah.
Not so much
I
nowadays.
still-
Because we had to read the Iliad and the Odyssey, didn't we, or something like that?
We didn't have to.
If I ever read
we
the
read the Iliad. No, we read the Odyssey. The way back, we read the Odyssey.
We read the Odyssey.
Yeah,
Battle
we
and
didn't read.
Journey.
Iliad is a lot longer. Shouts out to Homer, my boy.
That's right.
Those are really good. It's just like, the stories are just so interesting.
The
and
names
cool.
the names at the time were hard to follow, but I think it's a lot easier now.
Yeah.
I think I'm just better at like getting interested, and like if I'm interested, I can read through something and I'll just remember them better. But those Greek names, bro, they'll get you. Minos, and then you got Midas with the gold touch.
Yeah.
Then you got all these A's sounding names and stuff like
Achilles.
that. Achilles.
It's like Adronimus or something. Is another
Achilles-
one.
Aphrodite,
That one's easy. I know that one. I know most of the gods, bro.
Apollo,
The gods are
Dionysus,
Apollo,
Hades,
Apollo.
Isn't the god of the sky, right?
sun.
sun,
Apollos.
music.
hmm He carried the sun on his
Medicine.
chariot.
Those are twins, right?
Who?
Yeah.
Apollo's one of the twins.
And Artemis.
Artemis, yeah, they are twins.
Artemis is the god of travel, right?
Hunt.
Hunt.
Hermes is a god of
that's
travel
what I'm
and
thinking.
messengers, and because he's got the winged sandals. Sorry, I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, and UPS store.
yeah.
He invented UPS secretly.
The enchanted thermos, all that fun
Yeah.
jazz.
I say, what was the story behind Artemis and Apollo? Because they had to be born on Crete, wasn't it? Or they had to be born on some island.
They were drops from the moon.
So
and
the
sun.
the only one I remember is
It's because Zeus always had like affairs and stuff, and they're both children
Yeah,
of
so
Zeus.
he had to hide
So
him.
so he had to hide him. And why am I forgetting his wife's name? God's wife's name. Zeus and Hera.
Yep.
the peacock lady.
Yeah, Hera forbade them to be born on like every single like a couch or like any single material. She forgot like one plant or something, so I had to go to that island. And I had to be born there, and like hide from her. I guess. I think that's what the story was.
Is that a time?
Yeah, we're getting close.
I betski. I know Aphrodite was born from the sea foam, and then Athena was born from a headache. Zeus had a headache,
just
and Athena
sprayed-
popped out.
sprayed right from his head.
Yeah. All right.
It's good
We're
stuff.
chilling.
I bet Isaiah was born from a pain in the ass. All right, thank you guys so much for listening. We'll catch you next time. Peace. Sorry. Catch you guys next time.
No.